Well, good morning, everybody. I agree with MT who posted I really needed this morning. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to be gathered with you, Maya, and I just want to welcome you to your monthly setup for June. We have finished May. We are looking at a new month, a new start, a new journal, which is what I love about Silk and Sonder. That new fresh start every month. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy, and I am coming to you from the Dallas, Texas area. And then my sidekick today is the fabulous Maya Martin Glenn, who is in Colorado, and she's going to be hanging out in the chat. If you have anything that's, any questions that pop up, or you might, she might be able to answer some questions. We don't have a lot of access to headquarters stuff, but we can definitely get you pointed in the right direction. She's going to be sharing a lot of links throughout our time together. So she'll be the go-to if I'm chatting it up. Just drop your questions in the chat, and she's there to support our time together. So, yeah, make sure your chat is set to everyone. That is how we share. If you see your name to host and panelist, then Maya and I will be the only one who sees that. And we do a lot of sharing and a lot of suggesting of how to set up your journal. We've got lots of examples to show you this morning of some things to think about if you're maybe trying to decide just how you want to use that mood tracker, or consider the intentions you're going to have for June. And it's so nice to have this community to go, I've really been working on this and I'm not sure how to frame that. And when I'm looking at intentions, can y'all help me? We love that. So make sure that chat is set to everyone. Now, this is a mics off, cameras off event. We do have closed captioning enabled. So if you don't want to listen to me yammer on, just, drop that volume down. Or if you don't like a music that's a song that's playing, just you can drop that volume. So you have full control of your cockpit there as you're hanging out with us. I hope you've got. I just went, I poured I was drinking lemon water while I was working with Maya, and we were going through all of this. And then I went, now I got the real stuff that's giving me purpose to the day. I got my big cup of coffee. So anyhow, so good to see you. So you're at your first monthly setup. Hannah, welcome. We love the accountability that comes with this time. Is there anyone else who's here for the very first time? I see a lot of familiar names. So, I'm welcoming all Sonder family, but some events coming up this week. Meha, our founder, is going to be doing some free live webinars, and you can just hover over that QR code and it will take you directly to the sign in links. But Maya is also dropping the link there so that you can go access this. And these are going to be recorded. So if you have some comments with the time, the YouTube channel, I always excited when I love it because all that energy about how, and she'll be thinking at these, we can probably all relate at some level to support that. So pretty y'all, I was telling Maya I've been having some issues with internet, and it was logging me off and on. So I may need to go try to do a hard set later. Hopefully we're okay. I'll cross my fingers. If it gets really bad, we'll just swap over roles, and Maya can control the slides. So let's see if we can keep trucking on. It's me. It's definitely weird yesterday, and I'm getting lost. Cross fingers. Send me the send good. It's feedback. Oh, Michelle. Okay, let's give us see if it'll straight. There are those.
Uh-oh, it looks like we're having some tech issues here.
It came
Oh,
back. Oh,
Jen, I was gonna say, Jen, it's freezing up pretty bad.
all righty.
Do you want me to try to project the slides? Maybe that'll take some of the load off of your system. Maybe. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, you're on mute though. So unmute yourself.
Okay.
Let me see if
Maya,
I
do you want to just pull up the slide deck?
yeah, let me see if I can, because I've got it up. Let me
And
share. Thank you all for bearing with us with the fun tech issues here. Let me see if I can put those slides up there. Let's see. Okay, do you see those slides, Jen?
I do. Thank you, Maya.
Okay, so we'll
Okay,
try, we'll see if you can, and I'm gonna have to get my music up because I don't think you can play your music. So let me see if I can find some music real quick too, but I'll let you go talk and just we'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out.
okay, friends, we're trying to figure it out. I think Maya might be having some issues on her end.
Oh,
Give us just a
are
second.
you able to see the slides, Jen? Oh,
I can see the slides. Can you all see the slide for me? But I don't know if it's my end or your end.
I can see the
Everybody's
slides.
saying yes.
Okay, so Jen, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to a
I
different
don't
slide?
do. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and proceed. And would you like me to share my playlist with you, Maya?
Yes, can you do that? That would be lovely.
And I think it's my end. And
I was gonna say, yeah, okay, I got that. Okay, oops.
okay.
Thank you all for your patience. I know this is not how
We'll try to keep
not
going.
how we want it.
Teamwork makes the patience, y'all. So yeah, we're looking at the month of June, right? And whoops. Hold on, let Maya grab my Spotify list.
Oh, now that stopped. Oh my gosh, computer is freaking out now. Let's see. Let me try this again. Where are the slides? Now I lost your slides. Let me find those back again. Oh my goodness, what is going on this morning? Let me try this again. Whew, and I don't even think Mercury's retrograde right now, so I don't know what is going on with the world here. Let me try this again. Let me try this. Let me try
Let me
this.
see if I can
Let's see. Let me try sharing this again. Oh my gosh, now my computer's getting all
go off
grumpy.
and get that working.
Okay,
Y'all, I'm so sorry. How many screens do we have in front of us?
I was gonna
Katie,
say,
that's
okay,
right.
so
It's usually two screens. Sometimes we're looking over to the side there.
Okay. So are you good, Jen? Can you see this? Can everybody see the slides? Oh, Jen's internet, I think, is still freezing pretty bad.
Uh,
Jen, why don't
Okay.
you maybe pop off and do a hard reset of your Wi-Fi, and then I'll just,
Taking this time, my house letter. Thank you for that's a great suggestion, Marie.
yeah, right, Mary Ellen saying
Grace under
teachers relate
pressure.
when this
Thanks,
happens
Veronica.
when the supervisor,
Comes in the.
yep. Try turning off your camera. See if
Uh,
that helps anything.
you can see part of a slide. Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
Jen, what can you see?
Okay, we're at Mayha's events,
Okay.
and there's our community guidelines.
So what do you want me to go to?
Keep going. Sorry.
No, you're
Uh,
good. Just tell me what you want.
yes, ma'am. Okay, so let's go. Okay, let's try this. We're going to go look at Mayhaw's letter, which is the very next slide, should be. Okay, nope, that's purpose, but there's Mayhaw's letter. Alrighty, so we always want to encourage you to read Mayhaw's letter. Um, because she lets us kind of know what's going on with with the why this theme. And the month of June with purpose, and I feel like our themes have been kind of building. Here's what stood out for me is purpose isn't something we define once and forget about it. It evolves with us. And that is so true because um we go through ages and stages, these life stages, our whole life, it changes. You may be in your 20s now, and so what purpose is for you looks different than what purpose looks for me as someone in her 60s. So it's always going to be evolving, and that's important to remember. We don't want to get too stuck in what you know we think should be happening. So she's encouraging us to reflect on our own sense of purpose. What brings you meaning, connection, passion, balance? And so those are kind of the things that I want you to start framing out and thinking about. All right, next slide, please. And if you're just joining us, we are having some technical difficulties with, I think it's my internet, could also be Maya's internet. I'm not sure. We're going to give this a whirl, and we thank you greatly for your patience. So here's our agenda this morning. We're going to start with our monthly acrostic poem. We're going to be looking at our May reflections, our June intentions, and then we'll be setting up those habit trackers for the month. You can go on to the next slide, Maya. All righty. So, our opening activity, we have been doing acrostic points to kind of get our juices flowing to think about how we want to frame out this new theme every month. And we are encouraging you to turn to a fresh page. Start thinking about 7 words that could associate your life with purpose, right? Oh, and Katie, yes, the to-do list is going to be great. And I think I get to do the social on that one. So I'm very excited about that. So start brainstorming for the word purpose. Now, I've got some examples to show you. So you can do a sentence, you can do one set of words. And so here are a couple of examples from Sonder Club where someone has just done the word. They've done their notes page, that very front page of the index where the index is. They've put that there. And then you can see there's a sentence one. But y'all, this month I decided to try something a little different. And I'm doing one word for each letter and I'm putting it in the middle of my mind map for the weekly setup. And I'm pretty excited about having those words to look at while I work on my mind map from week to week to week. I'm going to let these words really inspire that idea of purpose. So Maya, go to the next slide because I can't really, I'm not sure what's next. Let's see if it's, oh, yes, there's our similes for purpose. If you're not feeling the idea of purpose, but you want to grab onto a word that is similar, there's some ways to do that. You could also do an acrostic poem welcoming June, and then just the last of suggestions. If the acrostic poem is not hitting for you, this next slide will show you some alternate things to think about. Maybe you write a goodbye letter to June and a hello letter to welcome in. I mean, a goodbye to May and a welcome letter for June. I said you could even write it like a family member, like Aunt May and Aunt June, and talk about your months. You could work on filling out your purpose definition that is on page 3, or you could maybe embrace the idea of a haiku. I know many of you enjoy creating haikus. And then when you're looking at your definition of purpose, last month I did my definition by creating this word cloud for simplicity. So that could be a way to do that. So we just want the idea of our opening activity is get the juices flowing. So we're going to go ahead and put on a little bit of music while you work on this, and then we'll be back to check in with you. Alrighty. You may be kind of still working on this poem, or you might want to give yourself some space to create as you start thinking about purpose. So, I want to make sure that we value your time, especially with our rough start this morning. I want to go ahead and continue on to our next step. Nancy, acrostic poem, acrostic poems are just when you take one letter of a word and then you create a line for each one of those letters. Um, and so sometimes the word can be embedded in the middle of words or phrases, and sometimes you just take that first letter and run with a word to represent that first letter, then the second letter. So I want to invite you now to turn to page 8, which is your May reflections page. And we are going to take a moment to look over our wins and our challenges and our favorite moments. And on this page, I want to start first with looking at just the reflections part, right? Let's just wait for our stop, start, and continue boxes in just a moment. We'll work on that. But let's take a moment to think about how the month of May went for us. We want to celebrate those really good things that happened, the wins, the favorite moments. But we also want to look back over our challenges, like what did we deal with? How did we deal with it? Celebrate, how we dealt with it. And so lots of times you will find these in those weekly reflections of your roses and buds and thorns. So go back and look at that. Look at your calendar. How did you spend time? What were you invested in? Looking at our camera rolls maybe reminds us of places we went, people we got to hang out with, food we got to eat. So take a look at your photo roll for reminders. And I joke, but a lot of times you can look at your credit card statement, like, especially like for challenges, like, oh yeah, we replaced the water heater this month. So go back and look at those things from your past 4 weeks, and let's celebrate those wins and spend a little time reflecting on those favorite moments, and also celebrating that we made it through those challenges. We will put on some music for you while you do this consideration. We want to celebrate with you. So be sure to share in the chat as you're comfortable the good things that happened through the month. And then we also want to remind you that we're with you for those challenges. And then we will come back and we'll work on the bottom of this page together. So let's take a moment to look at those May reflections. some of you shared that some parts of May were those challenges were real, right? And so I want to remind you that's one of the beautiful things about our journals is that new fresh start every month. So you may still be working on this. I want to go ahead and go on to look at the bottom of our page and that start, stop, and continue space. Because I feel like if we can really ground into this space, it is the springboard for what we want to invite into our June. So, of course, the things that we want to start are like the new things, things we've been thinking about, stuff worth just giving it a whirl, see what's going on. Or I've often seen you guys write the letters RE right before start. So it says restart. So you want to go back and reclaim something that needs to come back into your life. Of course, the things that we want to stop are the things that don't serve us, right? What do we need to get rid of? What do we need to let go of? What do we need to say no to? And then, of course, we're doing a lot right. And so we really need to embrace those things and continue them. So I have some tips over there. It's okay to look at this. Maybe there's one area of your life that you really want to focus on. And so you kind of come up with a little theme for this, if that makes sense. So, maybe it's a relationship that you're working on. Then, so all of these spaces will be filled out considering that relationship. Or maybe it's something like your health or wellness or nutrition, the way you're eating, finances, education. Maybe there's some habits that this is really going to inform your habits. Maybe you're taking your word of the year and playing it out through here or using the idea of purpose. So, Sonder Family has done some really neat things with these spaces, and I wanted to share them with you for your consideration. I love the idea of doing a deep dig into each one of these spaces and not only identifying the things you want to start, stop, and continue, but going a step further and asking yourself the question, what is it? Why do I want to do this or not do this? And then how? What is my action plan? Kind of getting those juices going for that. So you can see the examples here have done sort of a deeper dig into the things that they're planning to start, stop, and continue. You can also take this space and use it. I love this one at the top. This is from last month, and our month of simplicity. And look at how simple that is. Start small. Just that reminder. Stop complaining and start prioritizing my health. Just those very simple yet powerful words. And then the one on the bottom, I laughed at the stop one there in the middle because it says stop procrastinating. It says, I know I say that every month. And so I feel you, right? Some of these may be the same things you wrote last month. Give yourself permission to do that. And then on these next examples, you will see that they are taking a little bit of a different formula with the space. So we'll wait and go to the next slide, Maya. There it is. So this is from our Silk and Sonder Instagram account, and it's kind of repurposing the way these spaces are set up. And instead of start, stop, and continue, you incorporate the idea of I feel whatever because of whatever, and I want to or I need to embrace XYZ. What is working in your life? So you could change this up as your compass for the month. And then you can see the one at the bottom, actually, they're starting one thing and they've changed these other two boxes up to support that. So, they want to use their daily pages, like really embrace their journal. And then they're asking, how is that going to happen? And that's in the next box. And then why? That reminder. We always need to have a why behind what we're doing so that we're sure that it's aligning with our life. So there's also some suggestions for that. So we're going to put on another song while we work on this section. let us know kind of how you're going to be using these spaces, because what you're doing will inspire each other. I want to call out to Karen, who is working on her yoga instructor, all the things, homework, tests, making sure she's getting it down so that she can get that teacher training done and be accomplished. And she said, I'm just going to really like use my journal this month for that. And I think that is a brilliant idea. Like, you can use your phone calendar and for all the other things of life, but to really embrace something that's super important to you. You are finding your purpose through that training. And so dedicating your journal to where you are holding yourself accountable and keeping yourself aligned with those goals, it's brilliant. And so that's a good call out for all of us. If we have something that's really big and really significant, let this journal kind of be where that goes, right? And it's all about you. So I love that idea. So thank you for sharing that. And so now I want to move forward into setting our intentions for the month. And so we just did that start, stop, and continue, right? That exercise. So maybe take a look at that as you start considering your intention areas, and setting up what you want. Now, we've got these 6 categories, and they may or may not speak to you. So you have permission to change them up. during the month, we've got so many things in June that could also kind of inform what maybe speaks to you and how you set these spaces up. It's National Safety Month. I know so many folks in Sonder Club suffer from like migraines and headache awareness. And so maybe that's what the awareness is this month. And maybe you put that in your physical health and you let that kind of guide, that management. It's National Candy Month. Of course, it's Pride Month, Alzheimer's Awareness Month, Audiobook Appreciation Month. Yeah, yeah, I always have an audiobook going. I still call them books on tape because that's how old I am. Cancer Survivors Month. That's some of you, and we just cheer you on. Great Outdoors Month because the weather's so nice, and of course, our Zoo and Aquarium Month. So we've got all these areas, spiritual, personal, physical, all these areas we want to set up. And I want to remind you that this is really a reminder for me because I love lists, making to-do lists and crossing them off. And I tend to start doing that when I set my intentions. I want it to be goal oriented, but that's not really what intentions are. They are much more about how you want to feel and not the things you want to accomplish. And so I shared this visual last month because it really spoke to me. Um when you're looking at intentions, it's like the energy you put in at the very beginning of something like that why, when you start thinking about your why, it's about right now. It's very short term, which is opposite from goals, right? Goals take a while. It's really prioritizing the relationship you have with self, and it's not about the external rewards at the end. Your scope is broad and vague, these kind of overriding ideas. And, goals are very pointed and they're steps. And so, the example at the bottom of this graphic says, I want to feel more focused. That's that intention. But a goal for that would be meditate, 4 times a week for 20 minutes. And so basically your intentions inform your goals. So let's look at how our Sonder family has kind of set up these spaces. So you have permission to maybe use some post-it notes like the example you see there, jot some overriding ideas out as you're thinking about this. Again, I struggle with these because I want to be so concrete and I need to really lean into how do I want to feel? What is the why behind it? So you can, of course, use our theme this month. A lot of folks will turn to kind of a self theme, like, so I want to have more self love. What does that look like in each one of these categories? You could also embrace it with the name of a title of a song, or some lyrics, or a poem, or maybe titles of books to kind of capture those feelings. Of course, we want to say, use those stickers. They want to be stuck. And then we love the idea of duality, like what do you want to let go of? What do you want to embrace? And I've got a couple of really great examples to show you with the idea of duality. So let's keep looking at some of what Sonder family has done. So remember, you don't have to take all 6 areas. You can maybe prioritize your top 4 like this person did. And then they left that bottom space for a quote and a scripture that will guide them, sort of be a compass for the month. And then again, permission to rename anything that doesn't work for you in your life. I always change my professional goals to my learning goals because I want to, stay fresh and learn. Oh goodness, you have to swap out the ink in your pen. Oh, you're having a morning like Maya and I did with this whole slide thing. All right, so let's look at some other examples. Now here's that idea of duality. So here's 2 great examples. The one on the left, I want more of something, I want less of something. In each one of these categories, they left the categories as they were. The one next to it, same thing, but their duality is I want to embrace, I want to release. I want to do, I want to avoid. So that kind of balance, right? It really helps you be mindful of what you are manifesting for your life. You can choose one single word, like the one over there on the right. I mentioned those stickers. Maybe you have some fabulous stickers that will embrace that. Next slide, please. And then we've got the washi tape example there to kind of brighten that up. But you can see very simple words. And then, y'all, this is an oldie, the one with the kitty cats stickers. It's an oldie, and I brought it back because I thought it was so cute to capture how you want to feel through a sticker, through a picture. I love professional goals. Look, they want to dress for dress for success. So that's kind of fun. And spiritual life, I want to just look how that cat just epitomizes being chill, being zen. So perhaps you have some graphics that will capture those feelings in each one of those. And Maya, I'm not sure, is there another slide behind this one? Yes, there is. So there we go with the one on the right. Look, just embracing quotes for the way that you want to feel. And then this one on the left, they've changed up some of the categories. So instead of spiritual health, they're doing mental health. Instead of personal life, they've changed it to personal fun. How appropriate for the month of June as we sort of have this kickoff to summer. And then their money management has become home management. So while we work on our intentions, please share in the chat if you change anything up. Tell us which one, which one are you taking and changing up to better serve your life? And then how are you framing out these spaces? Are you embracing some ideas of duality, the single word, quote, song lyrics? We want to know what you're doing because you will inspire us. And then we'll be back to move forward into our next. perfect. So hopefully you've got a good start on your intentions for the month. And we're going to I did want to call out Janine asked a question. She said, "Is there anybody who has resources for behavioral techniques for executive functioning improvement?" So if you have some things that you have as your go-tos, drop those in the chat so that she can take a look at that. So now we're going to jump into our trackers and we're going to begin with our mood tracker. If you'll just flip that page. Oh, good. There we've got some good resources coming. So that's great. Wow, before we get going with our mood tracker, I did want to share with you this reminder of the HALT theory or method. This actually comes from the world of recovery. I kind of laugh and said, but aren't we all somewhat recovering, from life? But there's so many tools and techniques from the world of recovery that serves all of us as a whole. And so this is a really good way to check in with yourself since we're talking about our mood tracker. And what it is you stop when you are having feelings of just like, anxiousness or not feeling your very best self. And you ask yourself these four questions. Am I hungry? And if the answer is yes, go get something nutritionally dense. Or maybe you need to drink a big glass of water to kind of reset where you are you angry? Why? What needs to happen? Do you need to take a moment? Do you need to stop talking? Take a deep breath. Do that reset. Are you lonely? Pick up that phone, call someone, take a walk, go, walk around a park, go be with community. Are you tired? Evaluate your rest. Do you need to make sure you put yourself to bed early? That's the best way to sleep in as an adult is to go to bed early, right? So I wanted just to remind you of this great tool that we could all use as we start considering the moods that we go into. So we track our moods because we want to notice how we're feeling. We want to, when we notice, we make shifts. If the moods aren't where we want to be, we can make shifts by embracing tools like halt. So let's kind of take a little bit deeper look into our mood tracker. Of course, we have two trackers depending on the days of the month. But this month is the hexagon. I always say we have three teams. We have Team Circle, Team Hexagon, and Team I don't care. I'm just glad we have a mood tracker. So we'll be looking at the hexagon tracker this month. Again, I mentioned we want to, if we're tracking moods, we are going to be able to see patterns. So I want to suggest that you maybe outline the days that are different from your regular days. So perhaps you work a Monday through Friday. So you might want to draw around your Saturday and Sunday because those trends and how you're feeling can change on the environment that you are in. If you have a non-traditional job, maybe you work shift work, maybe you highlight the days that you are at work and then you can notice if your mood is affected by the environment that you are in. Because when we notice this, then we can get those coping skills. And so, we've got our feelings wheel. This is the best place to start for tracking. And we always say, maybe start with the things that are right there in the middle. Track those things that you see the fear, love, joy, surprise, sadness, and anger. Especially if that's the first time you've ever been looking at tracking your moods. But then as we get a little more in tune with ourselves, you can expand toward those words that are, in the middle and the outside of this wheel. So perhaps you notice yourself feeling a lot of fear and anger. Maybe all of the things you track are somewhere, those moods that are somewhere in the fear and anger areas because you're really trying to pinpoint those triggers, right? And I always laugh because, Maya will always say, I don't track because I would track a million things every day. So you may feel what works for you. I don't use a mood tracker. I always say now, when I went through menopause, I didn't need it anymore. I'm a little more even kill. It's about taking what you need. I use mine for a book tracker. So let's look at some examples of how folks have set this up. We've got, like I said, choose those two or three negative, maybe a neutral feeling, and then positive feelings. How does the idea of purpose work into your mood this month? That's something to consider. All of these tracker examples have something to do with tracking mood. You can see the one in the upper left is just using these lines, these colored lines to track. That's a really great way of utilizing these spaces, especially if you have lots of feelings in the day. The one below that is embracing that use of washi tape. I really loved how that looks, just slapping a little square of tape there. The one on the bottom right, not really tracking moods, but using this tracker as a check in with self. So acknowledging my mood. And this could kind of be your halt check in, like, examine how you're feeling, acknowledge that, and then ask yourself those four questions. Am I hungry? Am I lonely? Um, I also want to talk about the one on the upper right. Do you see where it says no spoons? So the spoon theory is actually something that people with chronic illnesses can truly embrace to help themselves gauge their days. So folks who are healthy, right? We kind of have a, infinite number of spoons in the day. But if you are dealing with a chronic illness of any kind, perhaps you dole out your 12 spoons for the day. You know that you can kind of embrace energy in the idea of these 12 units. And then you can think about, what does it take for me to do my morning routine? Maybe that takes 2 spoons. So that means you have 10 spoons left for the rest of the day. This is also a really good way to communicate with the people around you. And by the end, maybe mid-afternoon, you realize I've used all 12 spoons today. Sometimes I can get through the whole day with a spoon left over, but sometimes half the day takes all those 12 spoons. So that's when you see that no spoons, this person is monitoring what those days brought them. I also love the idea of tracking my cranky today. But going into the idea of that spoon theory is a really good way for folks. If you feel like your energy levels are low, maybe you go do some reading up on the spoon theory and how that could maybe apply to your life. And again, it gives you a point of communication to those around you about, like, it's 4 o'clock. I know we still have many hours left in the day, but I'm out of spoons. I just can't. So just that suggestion. Now let's look at some repurposing of our mood tracker, you know, all kinds of ways. There's a great list there of what folks have done. I've got some other ideas to show you so that you can see. Here are things that I've seen people do with this, book tracker, pages read, Wordle solution for the day, tracking your energy levels. Maybe this is your self-care tracker or your creativity tracker, if creativity is something you're embracing in your intentions. Calories, your daily learning check-in. You can see these two examples, an intentions tracker. So going back and looking at those intentions for the month, right? So maybe you look at your intentions page and you track that you have checked in with them on a daily basis this way. An energy tracker. Next slide, please, ma'am. We've got the idea of, let's see, hold on, I've got some more examples to share. There they are. That this self-care tracker is actually embracing 6 of the 7 types of rest. And so you can see they've drawn their hexagons into pie pieces. And I think the idea was to make sure that on the daily, they are checking in with each type of rest in their life. And let's see this next. I don't know if there's another one. Yep, we've got some more examples there. A workout, business habits. Are you an entrepreneur? Maybe you're working on your financial goals, and so you're doing a spending tracker like the upper right. Or also, how am I flourishing? And what am I doing to bring joy to my life? I love this one on the right too. Again, dividing that little hexagon up into those quadrants of how, what they are, what they're feeling, but also, am I drinking my water today? Did I go for a walk? Do I have a mindful pause? There's another place where that halt idea can serve you. Oh, Leanne, thank you. Thank you for sharing that so that we could share that with everybody. So that business habits is Leanne. So we appreciate that. So let's put on some music while we set up this tracker, and then we'll come back and look at that habit tracker and finish out our time together. All right. So great job working on that tracker for your moods, or maybe you're repurposing. Mine is going to stay blank because I write in the title of the book I'm reading, and then on that day, I put that like a color code my book. So mine is really basically empty until I get it. So now we're going to look at that habit tracker, and I love, love, love this tracker, and it helps us start new habits, of course, maintain the ones that we have that are serving us, and it can also be the habits we need to kind of get rid of, the bad stuff, the things that we're not proud of. And you might want to go look at that stop, start, and continue box again and use that to inform your habits. Now, a word about habits is you don't want to create a whole list of brand new habits every month. So give yourself some wins, the thing that you're going to do. Maybe start your habit tracker with that one thing so that when you're opening up your journal, you're checking that off and you're looking at the other things you want to do. Remember that, this is data that we're collecting. And so we can look at these days, but remember that they are going to go forward into decades. So it's okay if you miss a space. This is, a very neutral thing. It's a piece of paper with some data about your life on there. So I love the graphic, live less out of habit, more out of intent. So maybe go look at your intentions. How can they inform your trackers this month? So let's take a look at some examples from our Sonder family. Of course, thinking about what does purpose look like to define your tracker. Perhaps you have a theme. Last month, my theme was Good Morning Sunshine, and my tracker was only my morning routine because I had kind of gotten out of sync with myself. And so the whole tracker tracker was about starting my day. And then I put anything else that I was tracking in the weekly habit tracker. Of course, bring habits forward from last month. Find that good balance in the wins that you're going to give yourself, and then you kind of carry on. So the examples we have here are reminding us we don't have to fill out every line. Perhaps you're only going to track 3 or 4 habits. The person that you see this example on the left, I've used this graphic many times. They've written their why behind the habit, and they're going around that circle with their why just to remind them. And then also a reminder, how I mentioned your mood tracker and highlighting those days. Highlight those same days on this tracker, because it could be on the weekends you end up kind of taking days off from some of the habits, right? It's really, but it can help you remind you, oh, those were the 2 weekend days, and I don't worry about XYZ because I'm at work those days, or I have this habit for my work. So on the weekends, I take that habit off. Um, let's see, next slide. We've got ways to track those little stickers. Of course, you can use markers. You can just check it off. The habit tracker on the right, I love how they've used the outside of it to sort of, a little demarcation of what's going on. So there's a little bit of traveling going on in there. I see Disneyland on the 26th and 27th. I believe that would maybe be my days off if I'm spending time in Disneyland. And I don't remember if there's another one or not. Maybe the habit suggestions. Yes, our habit tracker ideas. We're going to put on a spot of music while you fill in your tracker here. Let us know what you're tracking this month, and then we'll be back to say goodbye. My friends, I want to thank you so much for joining Maya and me. Thank you especially for your patience. If you were logged on at the very beginning when we had our internet issues, my big shout out and gold stars to my co-facilitator, Maya, who helped get us through this. I had to relinquish songs and slides to her, and she did great for us. So we are looking forward to the month of purpose and diving in to this month with you. Be sure to share your setup in Sonder Club. You saw examples are all from y'all, so we love to be able to grab that. Again, another shout out for the live events that Mayha will be doing this week. Again, you can find those on the Eventbrite page for Silk and Sonder, or grab that quick QR code to be able to log on and sign in for those great webinars. And I think Maya and I are actually the stage managers for those. We'll be in the chat during those times. I'll be the daytime, Maya will be the evening one. And then we've also, I forgot to shout out the Minnesota Midwest folks, you guys have a live event coming up with Jennifer Krippner, and it will be on June the 11th. And so you should be receiving an email very soon from headquarters. They're going to kind of geographically identify you and send you that information. But also, Maya just dropped that in the chat. So you could grab that RSVP link to go hang out on June. Oh, I'm sorry, in June. Oh, no, no, yeah, June 11th. She's going to drop that in. So get that. She just dropped in for Mayhouse. We got lots of information to share with you. And so hopefully you would be able to make a live event with Jennifer Kay. Oh, how fun. Happy birthday, Janine. And then finally, this has been recorded. You'll be able to access it. I also did a setup last night. Katie did a one before. So there'll be some that don't have a glitchy start if you needed to go back and sit with that for a while. But we do appreciate your patience. And we thank you for that. And y'all, I'm just so excited about a new month and a new theme and what purpose is going to look like in the chapter that we are all currently in our own life. Thanks for joining us. We really loved being with you this morning. Have a great day. And maybe I'll see you tonight. I'm supposed to present tonight. We're going to see if we can't get this internet reset. Bye, y'all.